Welcome to the show, everybody. It is Thursday. Today is Thursday. Happy Thursday to everybody out there watching. This is the Paul Harrell program. We got a great show for you. It was a very slow news day a couple of hours ago, and then all of a sudden, Kristi Noem is out. Mark Wayne Mullen is in. What does that mean for the SAVE Act? Especially, speaking of the SAVE Act, President Trump posting that we need the SAVE Act, but also putting something in there about transing kids as long as the parents consent. That is a story that is going viral right now. And we also have Jasmine Crockett's Crocodile Tears. We have that as well. We got so much to talk about, but we're going to start with John Cornyn and his anti-Trump record. This is a guy who compared January 6th to September 11th. 9/11 wanted harsh penalties for J6ers who showed up to protest the stolen election. And he's also been about gun control, everything you would think that a Republican from the great state of Texas would be against. Cornyn is the swamp. We're going to talk about that and Ken Paxton, because Ken Paxton has a very interesting announcement. It is a political chess move I haven't seen in a very long time. The show starts right now.
Paul Harrell program.
All right, folks, we are live and we're broadcasting across platforms, including LFA TV. It's always great to be here, and we appreciate the audience. Broadcasting live from Arkansas. I'm joined by my co-host, Rob Spencer. Rob.
Man, I'm so glad to be in studio today. Obviously, we were talking about what we're going to talk about. What are we going to talk about today? We got this, we got that, and then all of a sudden in the last hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is, there's been tons of breaking news. We're going to talk about it if we've not been polled here with Paul on how John Kennedy, our favorite senator, the wittiest, the funniest senator from the great state of Louisiana, took down Kristi Noem, and we're going to talk about that, because it is epic.
Well, yeah, and that's what you said. I had missed that aspect of this story. The speculation, reporting that during her testimony, it was Kennedy's questioning about an advertising campaign that President Trump, according to reports, was not too happy about. Eric Haynes is with us. Eric.
Great to be part of the conversation.
It's always great for you to be here. We
Anxious
always
for
appreciate
some truth bombs today.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, bring them. Truth bombs abound.
All right, so before we do that, though, I think we should get right into the situation with John Cornyn. John Cornyn and the D.C. swamp are basically maneuvering themselves. They're begging, groveling, I would even say, for the Trump administration to endorse Cornyn. He reported the other day, we reported the other day that Trump was going to make an endorsement, and that whoever doesn't get the endorsement, rather, they should just drop out of the race. And this really sent people in the base kind of just spiraling, to be quite honest, because they just a lot of people want the people to decide, and this idea that Cornyn has a better shot of winning or Paxton has a better shot of winning. I think we debunked that pretty good yesterday. I think both can win easily, because the Democrat opponent, Tararico or whatever his name is going to be very easy to defeat. But I want to highlight this post. This is from President Donald Trump, and this was back on July the 25th of 2023. He said, "Who is the worst senator, John Thune, the stiff Cornyn of Texas, or Mitt, the loser Romney of Massachusetts, or Utah, ? They are both weak, ineffective, and very bad for the Republican Party in our nation. With even modestly skilled opposition, they'll lose their next election. Who could ever forget Mitt proudly marching with full mask down on a once proud Washington, D.C. street with a BLM and rioters? Likewise, there's Cornyn, always quick to surrender to the Dems, giving them anything they want." Now, I'm going to play a piece of audio for you, because I think it's really the most damning thing. We have this Joe Hoft piece. It's time to remind President Trump that Senator John Cornyn is not MAGA, not even close. And there's a little montage about John Cornyn's record, and I wanted to play that. Let's start off here, and then we'll get you guys a reaction to it. This guy in no way should be back in the U.S. Senate.
I fully expect, unless there's some surprise that none of us know anything about right now,
that Joe Biden will be the next president.
Strong words from U.S.
All right, so he says, just real quick, says nothing. You know, when we all in 2020, we all saw with our own eyes what happened.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the stolen election, and he was one of the guys like, hey, we need to move along. Just get over Trump.
Senator John Cornyn out of Texas, the Republican, says former President Donald Trump can't win the 2024 general election for president. He also says the GOP needs to find a candidate who actually can. This was all in a call with Texas reporters. Cornyn saying, I think President Trump's time has passed him by. And he adds, I don't think President Trump understands that when you run in a general election, you've got to appeal to voters beyond your base.
Mr. President, I rise today to mark an important milestone for our friend, Senator Mitch McConnell. Senator McConnell's done it the old-fashioned way. He earned it. He earned this role as our leader and the respect, certainly, that goes along with it. But more than that, he's a rare example of what a senator ought to be. So thank you, Senator McConnell, for your example. Thank you for your mentorship and for your friendship.
Just a few weeks into our partnership as leader and whip, John presented me with a birthday gift. He'd framed and autographed a picture of ourselves. Just an ordinary, not particularly glamorous shot of the two of us.
And I've passed more legislation, more bipartisan legislation than any other member of the Senate.
That's a problem.
That's not a mistake. It's because I reach out to people like Kirsten Sinema from Arizona, even Mark Warner from Virginia.
And then there was his handwritten message. Happy birthday, Mitch. I've got your back. And how fortunate I've been to be reminded every single day since that John Cornyn meant exactly what he said.
I want to bring this up as well. Liz Cheney, it'd be hard to find somebody more conservative in Congress than Liz Cheney. Perpetuating the big lie is an attack on the core of our constitutional republic. Is she right?
Well, I believe Joe Biden won the election, and President Trump had about 60 different lawsuits that were unsuccessful in changing the outcome. But there's no question in my mind about the outcome of the last election.
Thank you for making all of us look better than any of us deserve. Thank you for always having all of our backs.
And we should not dictate from Washington, D.C. what sort of weapons they can get access to. We should let them make the decision and provide them everything they need in order to defend themselves and their country and defeat Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, let Zelensky start World War III. Hang on one second.
Prosecutors across the country are refusing to enforce laws that we already have. So if you're the United States Senate, if you're John Cornyn from Texas, supposedly free state of Texas, you'd probably want to do something about that. But no, John Cornyn has decided to take guns from lawful gun owners. And if there's one reason you vote Republican, it's to prevent that. So it's not surprising that John Cornyn is very unpopular with Republican voters. Watch his reception today at the Texas Republican Convention. Listen for the boos.
The people don't want this guy.
What are we doing?
The people
As
don't
ABC
want this guy.
13's Erica Simon.
It shouldn't even be. We can stop there. It shouldn't even be a debate. Now I know we've got news and about the SAVE Act and everything else, but this really shouldn't even be a debate, in my opinion.
This guy has every creepy costume that you've ever had from the 1950s, from a terrible cheesy horror movie of a swamp creature. He fits every definition of it, coming out with his hands still exposed and all of that stuff. That's what this dude is. And when you're aligning with Joe Biden, when you're aligning with Ukraine, let's pump more money, more money, more money, more money. When you are aligning against gun owners, folks, that's not a recipe for success for true constitutional conservatives. And I don't understand why this is like, if the debate is up there that Trump might endorse Cornyn over Paxton, like, I would rather have no endorsement than him to come in there and say, all right, I'll endorse Cornyn if he does this. No, get this swamp creature the hell out.
Well, yeah, and I also think, I think generally speaking, the American public thinks that Congress doesn't do anything, right? They just sit on their hands. And we're seeing that right now because of John Thune and John Cornyn and everything else. But you've got, this country has been through a lot. John Cornyn is one of the guys who's been up there the longest doing nothing. Can we just agree that the guys who have been up there the longest doing nothing, who are responsible for the state this country is in, where they just consistently do things that are not in the best interest of the American people and the people that live here? Can we at least say, hey, it's time for this guy to go out to pasture? I mean, he is another Mitch McConnell. He obviously backed Mitch McConnell, but just in terms of his age and everything else, the younger generation. I don't even know how old Ken Paxton is, but I know he's younger than John Cornyn. I can tell you that much. What are your thoughts on this, Eric, before we get into the news about Paxton saying he might drop out?
Yeah, the most important thing for me is that this gets back to the conversation we had a few weeks ago about them aging out, and we used examples like Senator Grassley and McCain and so many others that are just so old and so past their prime and are completely feckless and gutless as it relates to this, and have no energy or no persuasiveness that some of the young senators that are up and coming have.
Yeah,
so they just go along to get along, and they put on this act like, oh, I'm going to try to work with Kristen Sinema in Arizona, and I'm going to try to work with Warner in Virginia, and I'm like, and?
Yeah, like if you could not work with Sinema, she was the most level-headed Democrat in the Senate. Like if you couldn't work with her, well, I worked with Kristen Sinema on some bipartisan.
Do you need a trophy for that? Dude.
Did you go in there and convince any far leftist to join your plight, right? Which we know is not true, and it's really not even possible. But Team Mitchell 13 said, I voted for Trump to drain the swamp, not join it. And there's a lot of folks right now saying, if he endorses Cornyn, is he going to be just joining that swamp?
Well, and it depends. It certainly depends on what he gets. But at this point, people want accountability, and we want people that think they'll never be accountable. We that goes for everything. That goes for the people that have committed crimes, and it goes for the people that have ignored in their piety. They've ignored the people, their arrogance. People like Dan Crenshaw, who did finally lose, who lost the other night. People are just sick of there's always an out for these people. There's always something else they can do to make sure they never lose power. And people are sick of this. And if it goes on too much longer, you're looking at a giant demoralization psyop that really is underway right now.
It's like that old saying is, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yeah. And John Cornyn is a perfect example of someone who is, I consider, at risk falling for anything.
Oh, of course.
Well, because if it can make it look like that there's some level of bipartisanship, he's going to end up taking a victory lap for it, as if he's doing the country a favor, and he's not.
Yeah. I don't know how old John Kennedy is, but some of the arguments against John Cornyn is, oh, he's getting old and all of this stuff. That's not the argument against him, because you can have this old guard in here that is simply sick of the swamp, right? And if John Kennedy is this sort of I don't know what you want to try to say, like this grand champion of those on the right who are reasonable. Right, John Kennedy has a lot of funny one-liners and all of that stuff. But if a Republican is up for, say, district judge or whatever the judges, federal judge. Thank you. I'm thinking of like a district judge. But if a person is up for a federal judge and they were nominated by a Republican president and they come in there and they don't have the goods, what does John Kennedy do? He assassinates them. He doesn't care that they're a Republican. He doesn't care that they were nominated by a Republican president. He cares about, are you going to be a good judicial add to our society? And so that's where most of us are, is where we are with the John Kennedy. So don't give me this he's too old crap. John Cornyn is a rhino and has always been. It doesn't mean that he doesn't vote with the Republicans 70% of the time or whatever his voting record is. It doesn't mean that. But it means that he doesn't truly lend himself, like he doesn't truly align with the Republican Party of today. We've talked about it before. We are not the same Mitt Romney Republicans.
He should answer for things like this, though. I mean, he should answer for what he said about January 6th, comparing it to 9/11.
Director
Good
Ray,
grief.
after the events of 9/11, I think it was Admiral Bobby Inman who coined the phrase "a failure of imagination." We just couldn't conceive of the idea that something like what happened on 9/11 would occur, but that was a failure to imagine it. And it strikes me that the events of January the 6th share something in common with 9/11 in the sense that it seemed like there was a failure of imagination. That's not to point the finger at anybody to blame, but merely to try to describe.
He should have lost his job right then.
Did he say failure of imagination?
He's literally he's talking to Christopher Wray in this hearing. Christopher Wray, the guy who, the former FBI director, who lies repeatedly during the Biden administration about how many ununiformed federal assets were in the crowd.
Right.
Hundreds of them. We now know. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a lot. And he's taking, again, these false presuppositions. With John Cornyn, you get, if anything happens with John Cornyn, you get trust the system, trust the FBI, trust the intelligence community, trust it all. Give Zelensky all the weapons he needs to start a nuclear war with Russia. Like, that's who John Cornyn is. And he has certainly got a lot of people that have invested a lot of money in him, a lot of special interests, a lot of lobbyists, and they don't want to have to do they don't want to have to even go approach somebody new like a Ken Paxton to try to get, him in their circle. That's how this works. They don't want to make new work for themselves. So now there's all this pressure. Trump, please go and endorse John Cornyn because Ken Paxton somehow can't win against a radical nut job who thinks God is non-binary. It's insane. And
Correct.
So we're being sold a bill of goods here that is just ridiculous. Julie Kelly reminds us, John Cornyn supported not just Pelosi's J6 witch trial, J6 committee, but called for maximum punishment for J6 protesters. Okay?
Wow,
so,
I did not know that.
The protesters here it is. This was the J6 attack on the Capitol was horrific and appalling. Those who planned and participated in the violence that day should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And, of course, now we know, I know that it was a giant Fedsurrection, and we could believe our own eyes, but we know even more now because of the footage that was released over time. And it was all a giant setup to try to squash populism and end MAGA and make sure President Trump can never run for office again. And of course, that was all blown up. The guys, and Cornyn's not the only one, but these swamp creatures that furthered this and went along with it because they hate Trump so much. John Cornyn does not like Donald Trump. He does not like what he stands for. He does not like populism because he doesn't want to answer to the people.
Sure.
And that's what Trump represents. With all of the flaws out there right now, because nobody is perfect, populism is the only way that you're going to actually save the country, but it requires politicians to actually do what they say they're going to do, and Cornyn is one of those that doesn't do that. Okay, and by the way, the fact that it's so ironic, the fact that Cornyn is now entertaining this endorsement, and then obviously he wants it, and then Ken Paxton will just drop out because Ken Paxton can't win. When it was John Cornyn who we saw it in the video, John Cornyn told the press that Donald Trump cannot win. Donald Trump needs to drop out. Why would you ever reward somebody who is this much of a slime ball? I'm sorry.
Well, and everybody needs to keep in mind, too, that Cornyn was behind going into Election Day. There were plenty of polls that showed Ken Paxton ahead going into the polls. He had a really good Election Day. And I'm not saying anything happened. I'm not saying anything didn't happen.
Go see the report. Andrew Paquette, Dr. Paquette came on this program, and they exposed, it was in Chip Roy's district, where there's 13 primary challengers. They exposed election fraud. He exposed election fraud. He caught it. He said he turned it over to the authorities, and then all of a sudden the data that he found wasn't there, but he still got the data showing a ton of funny business going on with the rolls, an algorithm that's being run after hours. And he specifically said, Dr. Paquette said, it's probably because of the Cornyn race.
Yeah.
But to your point, we had so a few things. Paxton, the headline we had earlier, running through the development of this story. Just the News reported Paxton says he will stay in the Texas Senate GOP runoff race even if Trump endorses Cornyn. That was the initial report. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have an addition to that we're going to get to in just a minute. But I want you to understand the amount of money that they did to get Paxton to where he was. The amount of money they spent was ridiculous. John Cornyn, it cost him $100 million just to tie Ken Paxton.
Yeah,
to the primary.
they were neck and neck.
It cost Ken Paxton only $4.5 million.
Yeah.
Now you do that math.
Sure.
Could you imagine what they would do, or what Paxton would do if he had that amount of money from the
if the full force was behind
the
him.
United States Senate committee that gives all this money?
And the Republican committee doesn't want to waste any more money. That's another aspect of this that I don't know if we're going to talk about, but I see this as being a big money problem too. Not that the Republican Party doesn't have enough money. They've got tons of money in their coffers, but they don't want to see it wasted on a Texas Senate seat
that should be safe.
That should be totally safe against a Democratic opponent like Tallarico. So they would rather not invest tens of millions of dollars or up to $100 million in fighting each other on a runoff, and would rather, just.
And I understand that, but look at that. Look at those numbers. $129 a vote for Cornyn to tie Paxton. Ken Paxton only spent $3.79 per vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You can't. You just can't make this stuff
Well, you think
up.
about this too. It just put it simply. More people voted against Cornyn than voted for him.
Correct.
Okay. So if you want to sit here and say that Paxton has no shot, that's naive.
Yeah.
That's
right.
completely. You're trying to say I know how every voter who voted for Wesley Hunt will vote in the runoff. That's what you're saying. And I just don't think that is, there's no intellectual thing that you can get behind and say, yes, this is what I believe, and I believe it because of this. There's no facts to back it up.
Trump's going to work this out, guys.
Let's just, we're about to, that very well may be the case.
That's what's happening.
But Amuse, we referenced one of his tweets yesterday, and there's some conflicting reports out there, but he reported that President Trump's endorsement of John Cornyn had already been drafted by his team yesterday. However, after a Truth Social post about the endorsement appeared prematurely, which is what he had reported before, and then it got people said it was fake news. So this, just take everything with a grain of salt, especially when we're reporting on X. But allegedly, there's pushback. The president began seeking input from conservative leaders. Trump was particularly surprised by how much money had been diverted from the GOP Senate races across the country to support Cornyn's campaign. He was also struck by the campaign's cost per vote. Cornyn reportedly spent $116 per vote. So there's that. Now, on that, in a related story, Lindsey Graham's primary challenger, Mark Lynch, posted this on X in response to that particular piece. How many tens of millions of dollars will Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, and the NRSC waste trying to defend Lindsey Graham?
There's another one
this cycle. Why? Well, because Trump endorsed Lindsey Graham inexplicably, but he did. When that state is ripe to actually have a real representative, and Lindsey Graham ain't it.
Well, like he's been right. Let's just be honest. He's been writing the Kavanaugh hearings for years, and his grand stance there would send him into the stratosphere. He even got parodied.
That's right. He was head of that committee.
Yeah,
that's right.
He was a parody on Saturday Night Live because of that. Whatever. I was cheering for him at that point because he was absolutely correct about that stuff.
Totally.
But the point of it is, like, he is a warmonger, and anybody that doesn't believe that Lindsey Graham is wanting war above everything, somebody would say, well, it's because he just really cares. He cares about America. He wants us to be safe and all of that stuff. And I'm just like, nobody is as passionate for war as Lindsey Graham is without some massive under-the-table funding coming his way.
Real quick on that, because I do want to mention something about that, because it just kind of dawns on me. We love to give people the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, Lindsey Graham's benefit of the doubt is up in our minds and in a lot of Americans' minds. But none of us have ever been senator. None of us have been, ever been as powerful as somebody like Lindsey Graham is. Have you ever stopped to think that, can you imagine, like, your advocacy Rob or Eric or my advocacy on an issue on a national stage means that people will die. Have you ever stopped to think about that? Like,
No.
Lindsey Graham has the power to kill people in a way. Like, he has the partial power to say something and then people die halfway across the world. And I just have to think I have to think that kind of power in an evil man is something that you actually kind of revel in. I'm blatantly speculating here, but I think the average person has never really stopped to think about that. Like, all presidents, of course, have that power, right? And it's a huge responsibility. And all world leaders, all leaders of nations for all time have had that power, right? The power of the sword. But I think because of our republic system, our democratic republic system, we kind of, maybe think that we've voted that tendency out in a lot of people. I don't know. When we say he's a warmonger and there's bloodlust there, I don't think that's hyperbole with Lindsey Graham is what I'm trying to say. I think it really can be. This guy has had this power. He's literally advocated for it. He's voted for it. He gets the secret intel updates. And for years, since he was put in Congress in 2003, there has been a wake of death and destruction across the world because of him. And of course he's going to tell himself he's done a good thing.
Putin is able,
but people have died because of that. And I don't know. I just wonder how much of that is like, how much does he actually like knowing he has that kind of power?
I don't know. I'm gonna give two shout outs here, and that is Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn are not. I don't ever really hear about them as swing votes. You hear about Collins, Murkowski, right, and then the literally weekend at Bernie's experiment weekend at Bernie's experiment that we are with Mitch McConnell.
Oh, right.
Dude is dead. Dude died 5 years ago.
Yeah, man,
and he's just true. Been,
It is.
The turtle.
Whatever, man.
No, you're exactly right.
So instead of saying he looks terrible, I'm going to say he looks great for somebody who's been dead for 5 years. But anyway, so those are the ones that we're hearing of. Cornyn falls in line. Lindsey Graham falls in line, and so we want those. So I don't want to like throw that off and just say, oh, this is terrible and all of that stuff. These guys are great. These guys are terrible. But let me ask you this.
That's a great comment.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
You saw the one about MAGA?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Rob. First.
Would you trade a re-election of Cornyn if it meant that we passed the Save America Act?
Well, and that's the next story that we have. Before we get to it, though, I have to. Do you want to read the comment, Eric? You read the comment. Let me cue this up.
I was reading the comment from Bad Moon, which I immediately went back to the Yellowstone reference and figured that that Bad Moon could be Rip from Yellowstone and could brand MAGA on Cornyn's chest. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, that is a great point, Carl Benjay. Just because Trump endorses Cornyn and to get the SAVE Act passed does not mean we have to vote for them as a Texan. Of course, we're in Arkansas, but it does not mean that Texans have to vote for him in that runoff. So, and I'm sure that if Cornyn, of course, Cornyn's pretty savvy, so he would play that as, I will vote for that after the runoff. I don't know when are the runoffs.
It should be in about two weeks. I don't know. In Arkansas, it'd be about 2-3 weeks.
You would think. Sometimes it's ridiculous. It's like months down the line.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Trump
wants to get everything done as quick as possible now and is willing to make deals with people to be able to accomplish those goals. I commend him for that. I just don't want to see him give away too much. And so if Cornyn is literally dangling the carrot of, I'll give you the SAVE Act if you endorse me, but I won't give you the SAVE Act, and I'll be anti-SAVE if you don't, like that's that's a bridge too far for me.
And I think it's an easy decision.
I
hate to say it, because I think that if we
that's
truly
the art of the
believe,
deal, though.
Yeah, but if we truly believe in the Save America Act and say that, this is one of the most important legislations pieces that we've ever seen, certainly with all of this.
Yep,
I'm making that trade.
Attorney General Ken Paxton says the SAVE Act is the most important bill the U.S. Senate could ever pass, and I'm committed to helping President Trump get it done. I would consider dropping out of this race if Senate leadership agrees to lift the filibuster and passes the Save America Act.
There it is.
I wish there was a time frame on that.
Is that hot? Is this hot? Like,
this happened earlier today. 11.
Okay, earlier today.
Yeah, so, I was kind of building up to this because it does kind of change the equation. But I didn't want to just lead with this particular story. I wanted to highlight how insane it is. I'm sorry. I know the SAVE Act is important. I get it. But we're doing all this for dinosaurs, and instead of John Thune just doing his job. The fact that Republicans are even going to negotiate this to save their friend John Thune just shows you how worthless they are. But I also understand that we live in a system, and it's not the way I want it to be. It is what it is, so I get that.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. I don't trust John Thune. I trust John Thune to say, oh, yeah, sure, we'll do it, and give some, half-assed effort and it not actually work out.
Imagine the art of the deal having to be played in and factored into the equation for the SAVE Act.
We actually need to know when the runoff is. Can somebody
look
up
when
the runoff is?
Well, they're saying it's May 23rd, end of May.
All right, so here's the deal with that.
A lot more time.
You don't get the endorsement, and Ken Paxton does not drop out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just me gaming it out. It's not that I think this is a good idea, but you don't get this until it's passed.
Yeah.
If it's not passed, you don't get it.
I completely agree with you, because
you've got to trust but verify. You can't trust at all
Absolutely
in this situation.
You have to have.
You'll get the thumb down like you got from McCain if you don't.
That's exactly right.
You have to have time for the legislative process to play out. And if you were to pass the SAVE Act and try to implement it, most of the time when they pass legislation, it doesn't take place till January 1 of next year. So it's honestly a stretch to me to believe that they could pass the Save America Act that would be implemented before the midterms.
This is the problem. Like
it's the biggest problem.
That is the biggest problem to me as well, because you're going to have the courts involved. You're going to have all this, so that we can talk like. And I am not an expert in this, but I am very skeptical that even if they pass the SAVE Act right now, that it would be in effect by November. I honestly think,
you'd have state. It might work in some states, but you would have
but in the blue ones,
where
you'd
it have
really
the blue
matters.
states that would just be pushing it out. And then if they got in front of a blue judge, then that judge would be like, oh, we'll address this in 2027.
Yeah, and so we're being told, hey, the SAVE Act is this amazing thing, and I think it's a glance in the right direction, as I've said, because I want to eliminate all the voting machines as well, but obviously eliminating the mail-in ballot scam. Obviously, the voter ID thing is going to be huge. I would also put ICE at all the polling stations as well. I would just do that because
apparently some people have a contention with the paper ballots direct. So there's the SAVE Act, and then there's the Save America Act, and I think there's one other one as well. Help me out in the comments. But the SAVE Act just says, hey, you got to have a government-issued ballot. You got to be able to prove that you're a citizen to be able to register to vote and to vote. Excuse me. The Save America Act is same-day voting, and it's paper ballots. The only way that you can get an absentee ballot is if you prove, like if you're overseas, out of state, like you have to be able to prove the need for an absentee ballot. And so it's the SAVE Act on steroids. That's the Save America Act. And so what I would say is, what I'm hearing is that there's some contention on whether, hey, we don't want to just get rid of all these voting machines that these counties have paid millions of dollars for, or at that point, like, hey, to go to these paper ballots. But at the same time, like our problems are not really with paper ballots. They haven't been since 2000, right, with the hanging chads.
Yes.
Right. So our problem is not with paper ballots. Our problem is with the tallier of the votes. And paper ballots would correct a lot of that stuff because you can't You can't destroy it. There has
Right.
to be a paper trail, all of that stuff.
We got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation, and we're going to talk about Kristi Noem. She is out as the Director of Homeland Security, and she's going to be replaced by Senator from Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
The Arkansas political swamp is in total meltdown. And what do? Spew lies. Why? Because of a 21-year retired Army veteran, a decorated war hero, father, a proven leader in communities who puts Arkansans first, who won't sell out, won't take a knee to the Arkansas political swamp machine. You say you want change, well then vote for it. Then vote Brian Norris for Arkansas Secretary of State.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being with us. This is the Paul Harrell program, broadcasting live on LFA TV and my personal Facebook page, as well as YouTube and other platforms as well. We really appreciate you being with us and broadcasting live from Arkansas. So, big news day today. We talked about Ken Paxton and John Cornyn and whether to endorse or not to endorse, who's Trump going to endorse. But now we're moving on to Kristi Noem. Fox News ran this report about midday, and it has been what everybody is talking about. Listen to this.
Breaking news. This comes a day after a difficult couple of days on Capitol Hill in both the House and the Senate for Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary. She is being replaced. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen is now going to take over her job. The president making the announcement on Truth Social just a short time ago. He writes, quote, "I am pleased to announce that the highly respected United States Senator from the great state of Oklahoma."
I don't need John Roberts to tell me what I already know, but what I wanted to show was that Fox News went with this chyron.
Campaign money that came to light during
Trump
these
fires
hearings,
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Now, Eric, you agree with the characterization of that headline?
My initial gut was no. I did not. My initial gut was she got to a point to where she was tired of being the most hated person in the cabinet and the ire and target of every leftist and every ICE hater and Department of Homeland Security hater on the left, and that she took an out to get reassigned to another job that's a little bit more cush. That was your initial. That was my initial thought, and I thought, Mark Wayne Mullins, on the other hand, doesn't give two Fs about anything, and will absolutely be a bulldozer and a battering ram.
Mark Wayne Mullen tried to start a fight in a Bernie Sanders hearing.
He did.
And I think that's a little bit more of what they needed too. She could fire back on a lot of hearings. You would hear her make some comments that were good digs. But I think Mark Wayne Mullins will do it a little bit better.
Okay,
so that was my initial thought, my spin in my head.
Again, Fox News goes with the headline, she has been fired. Obviously, she's been reassigned, but they're going with fired. What do you think? Is it more reassigned, Rob, or is it more fired?
Reassigned, that's just saving face, in my opinion. saving face so that you just didn't, that you didn't fire her. I can tell you this. I don't believe in coincidences. You don't go to Capitol Hill, have some good, positive things happen, but also some really good digs got in against you. And we're going to talk about John Kennedy here in a second, but I don't think that you can go on there and have the performance that she had, whether it be positive and negatives and all of that stuff, and then get removed from that position a day or two later and it not be directly related to your job, which means that she was fired.
Well, yeah, I can see that. I would also love to know the difference between her performance and Pam Bondi's performance, because she's still Attorney General. Last time
Pam Bondi still the Attorney General?
I'm just pointing that out.
Gates.
What I would say is it's probably a mix of both. I think the movement to move her or fire her, or however you want to characterize it, had probably been happening for a while. And what? John Kennedy gets the news.
Yeah.
Hey, John, why don't you ask a series of questions? Here they are. This is how I would imagine this type of stuff works, because everybody has advisors, everybody talks, because she's on the way out, and this will be the story if you do it this way.
Paul, Eric, one real quickly before you play this. You don't go on Capitol Hill and then lose your job or, quote, be promoted to a bigger job. You don't do that. That just doesn't happen. You don't go on Capitol Hill, get slaughtered, and then be reassigned, and it not be you getting fired.
Are you looking at this, though, through the lens of what you and I see on a normal day-to-day business in businesses in America and Fortune 500 companies and companies that operate normally like normal businesses would? Because in that case, I'm right there with you on that.
Well, I think that's what Trump has operated under for a long time.
Yeah, that's
I think Trump, the businessman, has operated that way. Like, hey, if you're not performing the way that I want you to perform, you're gone.
Well, do you think it's a numbers thing? Like she just wasn't getting enough people out quickly? That was my other thing. After I went through the first, she's just getting reassigned because she's taking an easier job. She's tired of all the hate and probably the threats on her and her family. Then I thought, well, no, maybe it's that Stephen Miller and Holman and others have said, however many thousand you're getting out a day, that number needs to go exponentially higher, because I've heard that criticism multiple times now, that the numbers that the department, were getting out and that were being flown out of the U.S. were not where they needed to be. So maybe I'm wrong on that one.
Well, here's a few comments from the LFA TV chat. J. Tyler P. writing, she was scared for her life and family's lives. Okay, so that's some people's opinion. We have W. Wilson, 1964, saying her job now is much bigger than her current job. She was promoted, not fired. And then we have R-Star 77 that says, decisions made, end of story. Christie, good luck in your new position.
So I get it. I get what you're trying to say there. The decisions are made, end of story, and all of that stuff. But you understand what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to seize on this. Oh, Hakeem Jeffries, this effing loser. I want to say something much stronger. But Hakeem Jeffries, President Trump listened to us and fired her, but more needs to be done. And I'm like, okay, President Trump is the last thing he's doing is listening to Hakeem Jeffries on anything. But they're going out there taking this victory lap, and I believe that they wouldn't have taken this sort of calculated risk to move her unless Trump was pissed.
Yeah.
Well, so here's what may have done it. We're going to play it for you. I actually haven't heard this. Rob let me know about this when he came into the studio this afternoon. Listen to this exchange. Was this possibly what? Because can you
the straw that broke the camel's back?
Did you say that there was a report that Kennedy
went on there and said that as soon as he left that hearing, President Trump called him. So of all the people that he could have called, he called Kennedy, and he was pissed and said, "I didn't say that."
Okay.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave, or we would detain them and remove them, and they'd not get the chance to come back to America the right way. That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes, before I was put in this position and sworn in and confirmed, and since then as well.
Okay. Did you bid out those service contracts?
Yes, they did. They went out to a competitive bid.
That's pretty much it. Yeah,
that's pretty much it. So you're saying that according to Kennedy, that Trump is saying he never authorized the $200 million.
He called and was very angry, apparently, according to Kennedy, and said, "I never said that. I never authorized her to be the face of DHS," which is what she's being.
Well, she certainly was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can recite that whole commercial right now because I've seen it 1,000 times and heard it 1,000 times. So,
and I'm all for I'm all for the deportations or the DHS, but I'll just be honest. I mean, when she first got in there, and I honestly think she's done. I mean, I want more mass deportations and everything else, and I know there's that's a very complicated thing, is what we're told. But I will just be honest, as a man who just traditionally thinks that law enforcement and combat operations and all that is a male role. It was off-putting to me, seeing all those ads the way they were. I mean, it just was. I just kind of felt like it was it made me think it was unserious. That's not what I don't necessarily think
selling?
It was unserious. The border is secure. Okay, I'm not debating that. I'm just saying it just felt a little. Maybe it did really well with the older demographic sitting at home watching Fox News. Your 60, 70-year-old guy. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, she's really attractive, or she's a pretty lady. Maybe did well in that area, but for me, it was.
You're saying they'd rather see her on a television commercial than Tom Homan? You're saying
exactly.
Tom Homan? You're saying Tom Homan's unattractive? How dare you, sir?
Yeah. I'm saying that's not what I'm looking for in a law enforcement official. I'm looking for somebody like Aaron Spencer, who's gonna, who's gonna say, like, hey, like, if you come in this country, you're gonna leave in a body bag.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm looking for.
Cubs fan 17 174 442. Anyway, Cubs fan in the chat. Okay, number one, I'm a Cardinals fan, so up yours. Number two, Pam Bondi does need to be next because he said Pam Bondi needs to go next. So he or she is completely correct about that. This needs to be the start of something and not the end of something, in my opinion.
Boy, wouldn't that be something? That would be something for sure. So there's that. All right, so let's get to Mark Wayne Mullen. Okay, he's now being named as U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security. Going to be the 1st of April. He's going to be in there.
Yeah, does he? And I guess since he's already been confirmed with Congress, he does not have to have any sort of confirmation.
I mean, I think he does have to go through a confirmation process. I did see that.
Okay.
So a little bit of this was his reaction. Mark Wayne Mullen on learning that he is the next. I think he will go through the process pretty quickly, but this is his reaction.
Mark Wayne Mullen live. Let's listen to you.
Don't support me. I'm going to be laser focused on getting that done.
Senator, I just have a really quick question. What was your first reaction to just the news that you were nominated for this position, just amidst everything that's happening?
Humbling, because I had to call my dad, and because it happened quick, right? I had to call my wife and call my dad both, and it's just. Pretty humbling when you start thinking about it. A little kid from Westville, Oklahoma, gets to serve in the president's cabinet. That's pretty neat. So, thank you guys.
How did you find out? Via the truth?
And I think I just like a really initial question. I mean, there's so many things that's happening within DHS. What would be your main objective or goal for the department?
We're gonna get focused on that, and we'll get back to you on certain details.
Yeah.
When do you expect to be confirmed?
Were you surprised, Senator?
The phone call I got from the president was right before the statement went out.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there you have it. That was his reaction. President Trump saying, I am pleased to announce the highly respected United States Senator from the great state of Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen, will become the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, I do feel the need to talk just for a moment. The last time I heard Mark Wayne Mullen's name was in the story that Emerald Robinson was reporting about the election fraud and the machines and what Patrick Byrne, an admitted intelligence spook, claims happened where 2024 did not end up like 2020. And Mark Wayne, I'm just putting two and two together here live on the air. Mark Wayne Mullen was the senator they took that stuff to. According to according to Emerald Robinson's reporting, it was Mark Wayne Mullen that they took the data to, and who helped them expose. And again, I'm just reporting what the story is. We don't yet know how true or what, because we're still waiting on Tulsi Gabbard's report. But allegedly, there was a computer lab or a facility in Serbia, and this did implicate Venezuela, is the way the story goes. And the computer lab in Serbia was going to hack the election in 2024, similar to what happened in 2020. And they claim Mark Wayne Mullen was the guy that helped them out in various different ways. And if that is true, then maybe this is a great pick for somebody who is now going to be the director of Homeland Security. You would think foreign interference in our elections would be within his purview.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Just something to think about.
I was just going to say, Mark Wayne Mullen has, completely eviscerated, people that he's had in these hearings. And I forget what all committees he is on and what he's been on, but he is absolutely more than capable of handling himself with the press. He is more than capable of handling himself with contentious hearings.
Hang on. Yeah. So here is Mark. You talk about he's willing to handle himself. Here's Mark Wayne Mullen. I don't even remember specifically what this was about, but it was a committee chaired by Bernie Sanders. So you can hear Bernie Sanders in the background.
He took on Bernie Sanders pretty hardcore last week too.
Sit down, everyone. Sit down now. We got to maintain decorum. Here was that clip. That's your
terrible Bernie Sanders.
He's better at Bill Clinton.
He's way better
and
at Bill
Obama.
Clinton.
Hang on, that's
You're
not
failing.
bad. Well, let me hear it.
You should have stopped at Bill Clinton.
Let me hear it first, and then I'll do it. I'll try
Say
again.
oligarchy.
Oligarchy. All right, hang on. Let me try. Let me hear it again.
You're terrible.
Time to go back to the drawing board.
All right.
Bernie.
Truck with me when I was building my plumbing company. Myself and my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard, long hours.
I'm Bernie Sanders.
Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, any time, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Oh,
Stop it.
Is that your solution, everybody?
No, sit down. Sit down. You're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Actively.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond?
Hold it. If we can't, no, I have the mic. I'm sorry.
This is
hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
This is a hearing. Is that better? He's like Larry. He's Larry David, right? I mean, everybody knows
yes.
he's
Larry David.
Yes.
Who was the voice of Steinbrenner in Seinfeld.
I do want to point out that Mark Wayne Mullen was the only one that stood up.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, no.
Pretty good. Who? By the way, forgive me, but who was? Does anyone know who the guy was testifying? They obviously had beef.
Oh, I don't know.
It was.
This wasn't that long ago, though.
Let's just be honest. He did not look like a person who should be talking some trash.
No, he didn't.
And he went. I mean, this wasn't that long ago. And just last week, he went after Bernie Sanders, the same committee, in a different hearing over something different. This was about health care, and he was like, "Bernie, we've been dealing with this longer than I've been alive. You've been here longer than I've been alive.
Mm-hmm.
You should have fixed this a long time ago.
Yeah.
There's no reason we should be having a healthcare conversation to fix the healthcare problem now with you sitting here chairing this committee. This is your fault."
Oh, yeah, it was an epic takedown of.
Total.
I mean, it just goes like Bernie Sanders has been there. What was he first elected in the 70s or 80s? I can't remember, but he's been there for a long time. And I recently saw this thing that I don't know if it's true. Somebody can help us in the comments there, but it was that Bernie Sanders, in all of his time in the United States Senate, has never authored a bill that was passed and signed into law.
Wow.
How's that not just a complete immediate disqualifier for you to be kicked out of Congress?
Interesting. I would want to know if there's anyone else. Like, how common is that?
I don't know. I don't know. But I mean, I'm sure he's joined in with, I'm a co-sponsor. But for his radical bull crap that he throws out there, like he's never authored anything that's been.
Well, I will tell you this. Like, for example, I once had a conversation with a former Washington D.C. Politico, let's say, who was working in Arkansas, and he was kind of dumbfounded by the fact that in the Arkansas General Assembly, the Arkansas legislature, and I don't know if this is the way it is in other states, but in our state, if you file a bill, okay, if you're a legislator and you file a bill, you are guaranteed to get a hearing. Your bill will get a hearing in the committee, and it will either pass or fail or be tabled or whatever. But, I mean, you will get your day in front of the committee that it's assigned to. That is not the case in Washington, D.C. Anybody who's, just any legislator, you are not guaranteed a hearing in front of the committee. There's all of these other procedures that have to be done. Yeah. They control whether or not they even want to hear the thing. Which I actually, and this particular person, who I will not name, was lamenting that anybody in Arkansas who's a representative can just get a bill and go down there and try to get it passed. But
it has to be voted on, for it to go into.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So at the local level, our ideas are much more freely shared, and there's not as much gatekeeping. But in the D.C. level, all I'm saying is there may be a reason for that, and it may be because nobody cares about you or respects you. That's probably not Bernie Sanders, but I'm just saying, like, the average Mr. Smith goes to Washington experience is dead in Washington, D.C., and it's been dead for a very, very long time. Yeah. You can't just go there with the concerns of your constituents and write a bill and try to pass it out of a committee. And this helps the status quo. It helps protect the status quo, but more importantly, it protects the people on the committee from having to go on record and voting against something they know their people back home would love. Yeah. And there's no record of their opposition to it. So there's just so many hurdles to keep these people from going on record and doing their jobs at the national level. Likewise, in a lot of state committees, just letting you guys know, in a lot of state committees, they have voice votes. So a lot of stuff will live or die, and the people never find out how their legislator voted in the committee because it's just
not a roll call.
It's no roll call.
Yep.
And now you can ask for a roll call, but then that can get contentious.
Sure.
Did the chairman hear the motion for a roll call? Oh, the chairman didn't hear it, so there is no roll call. I've seen it all, my friends, or at least I feel like I have. I've seen it all, and it's all designed to protect people from being accountable to voters.
That guy who Mullen went after was the Teamsters president. He was a big union leader.
Okay,
and,
thank you for finding that.
That was who that was. The chat helped. That's exactly who that was, though. That was Sean O'Brien.
So you got
the leader and president of the Teamsters Union.
So you got basically, so you got like a.
I mean, of course it is
a beef,
the Teamsters Union president,
a beef-fed, Oklahoman man going up against, I don't know, Teamsters. I just think Chicago, like
former MMA.
Good for him. Let's start an episode of Sopranos.
Oh, he's former MMA.
Markway Mullen fought MMA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well,
allegedly.
All right, now we're going to move to this next thing because we were talking about the SAVE Act. We probably should have put this story before the Kristi Noem stuff, but feel free to sound off in the comments if you got anything to say, whether you're watching it on LFA TV, whether you're watching it on my Facebook page or YouTube or whatever. I was perplexed today because this morning President Trump, as we're all debating about endorsements of John Cornyn or Paxton, as we're all getting the news about Kristi Noem, Markwayne Mullen, this morning President Trump posted on Truth Social about the SAVE Act. Yeah. And this is this is what he said.
Eye-opening thing in there.
Save America Act. Number 1, all voters must show voter ID identification. Great. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. That was number 2. Great. Number 3, no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. Fantastic. Number 4, no men and women's sports. Awesome. Totally agree.
Yeah, but we've now just gone off the rails there.
I know. It's already gone off the rails.
Yep.
but number 5 takes the cake. Number 5, no transgender mutilation surgery for children without the express written approval of their parents.
The fact that is one sentence. No transgender mutilation surgery for children unless the parents want it.
So,
folks,
make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen, because I can't. Because here's the thing. Let's first of all, we'll get into the policy of that in just a second. But if this is really what we're going to ask Republicans to vote on, and we're going to put all that in the SAVE Act, you are now putting Republicans in a really, really precarious position. Because right now, we're all being told that the SAVE Act is the most important thing that we need in order to secure the midterms or secure the elections. But now, if this is true, and if this stands, and by the way, it is a real post.
Yeah,
it's not just this is the Truth Social post, and let me make sure it's still an active link. Is it still up?
You're right. Go away. It is.
Hang
all
on a
about
second.
Big Pharma.
Hang on a second.
You sure that was real?
He pull it down?
You guys just saw it, but I don't see it.
Oh, he must have. If that was a real post, and
no, it was a real post,
and
verified.
He pulled it down, and he pulled it
100%.
down.
I was reaching out to congressmen earlier today, just being like, "Hey, man, do you guys know that you're being put in a terrible position?
Yeah.
We want the SAVE Act, but we don't want transgender surgeries, at all."
What the hell does women in men's sports or men in women's sports? What the hell does that have to do with somebody presenting a voter ID, like their ID to vote? Why are we? I cannot stand this crap. I cannot stand these. What do they call them? Pork belly or not? That's not what I'm. What there's a term where you're attaching this.
He's updated it. He's updated.
Oh, he's updated.
Look
Okay,
at there. Look
let's
at there.
see.
See, there you go.
There you go. Thank goodness. I don't know who.
I told you guys earlier.
There's no way I was just like, this was like
somebody hit him hard.
Unbelievable.
With it. Yeah.
Pork.
Thank you.
1 hour ago. So the link that I just had went dead when I refreshed. By the way, I'm really glad that I refreshed because I wanted to make sure. I was trying to prove to the audience it was real because I wanted to know. And it was real, but it was taken down. The link is dead. And now we have a new link. President Trump saying the Save American Act, number 1, all voters must show ID, must show proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots, no men and women's sports, no transgender mutilation surgery for children.
Period.
End of sentence, period.
Now,
you have no idea the rage.
Here's the problem that I got with it, though. Here's
the
problem
rage
that I
was containing. I was about to unleash.
The fact that it came out
first
way.
You opened the bottle. You opened the bottle, and now, because of backlash, you're trying to close the bottle. But what will the text of the bill say? What will the text say? Is this what the bill says? Or is it hidden here? Well, there's this caveat. There's this caveat. And what we all realize as conservative Christian fathers is that when we're talking about the mutilation of children, sometimes these children, the same as when children have to be pulled out of an abusive home, sometimes these children have to be saved from their own parents. And it can be saved through, you're not allowed to do this in the first place. You can sit here and call your, son, whose name is John, you can call him Jane. Okay, you can do all of that stuff, but you're not going to shove down these puberty blockers down his throat, and you're certainly not going to have any sort of surgery that permanently alters him before he's a legal adult. Okay? That's what it should be. I got a huge problem with this being attached to the Save America Act in the first place. What the hell does that even have to do with it? But at the very least, if it is attached, because Trump is trying to put like some of his executive orders in there to try to get it passed, if he's trying to throw that in there to codify those, okay, I'm good with it. But what does the text say? Is there gray area when it should be black and white?
Sorry, go ahead. I was just updating my Facebook post that I had made earlier today,
highlighting
this.
You I saw that, and that's when I sent you that message and said,
Yeah.
I want to be careful about this because I don't think that's what the intention is here.
Well, I was trying.
And here, let me. I know. I was with you, but let me play devil's advocate for a second here. And what I was thinking about the long game and the art of the deal, and that I didn't think this was even real, even the first way that this thing came out. What I thought was he was looking at some data points, which are this. Gender reassignment surgeries in the United States for children represent 85 to 108 kids per year. That's the number, total number in America. That's the number of gender reassignment surgeries. What I thought was, okay, so if that's the total, which represents 0.1% of all people in that category who say they're transgender, it's 0.1% actually end up having those surgeries. What he's doing is he's pacifying a little bit in this instance to eventually get it to the states, and the states will make their determinations. And so that this won't be a end-all, be-all. I'm making the call for the entire country about transgender surgery. And so that was the only thing I could see as far as a silver lining on this issue of maybe he's just thinking about it like this, and that he's going to pacify a little bit. And I'm not saying, and by the way, don't anyone think as a father of 4 who loves my kid.
You were just trying to rationalize what you were reading.
And even rationalizing it feels sick to me. Like, I get mad at myself for even thinking, like, Eric, were you rationalizing the fact that could be part of the deal?
Yeah.
But I just thought he's going down these bullet-pointed lists of, I'm going to get the SAVE Act accomplished. I'm going to get, men out of women's sports. I'm going to do it. And then this one thing, which represents a tiny, tiny, tiny little subset of this, I'll throw this little bone, I guess. And, it made me sick to think about, but I thought maybe would be what it is. You guys correct me.
Well, no,
hold me accountable if I'm wrong on that.
I said this on the text. I was trying to think like the original said no transgender mutilation surgery for children unless the parents consent. And I was thinking, how could that possibly? I was thinking, well,
do you think
you make them sign a contract, and if the child ever regrets it, then the parent gets sentenced to North Korea, you get deported to North Korea? No, that's still not good enough.
It's stupid.
It's child abuse. We're talking about abuse of children.
There's no reason for it to even be in there because no one is letting their child be mutilated unless they agree with it.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that caveat there, unless the parents approve of it or something, means nothing because that's the status quo. The only comforting thing that we're seeing right now is that you have all of these hospitals that were performing these surgeries, cutting the healthy breast of a 13-year-old girl off because she feels like she's a boy. I haven't heard of people cutting a penis off for when they're under 18, but it wouldn't shock me that that's happening. And then when you have as many as 87% of transgender detransition, or at the very least regret transitioning because they're struggling with something, identity, being a part of something. They're struggling, bullying, whatever it may be. They're struggling with something and they're looking for something. And then if your parents are a crazy radical leftist and presents this solution that says, "Hey, you know what the solution is? I know your name is John, but you really are a girl." And they're not saying it like that. They're saying, well, tell me about your gender identity, because they're the same crazy ass people that are taking their kids to the library for drag queen story hour. So you're putting it in their hands? The people that take their kids to drag time story hour, you're saying as long as you consent to this mutilation, it's okay. Crap. Bull crap. Sorry.
That was close.
Hometown TV.
It was right there.
Hometown TV.
We have FCC. We are on television.
That's right. We're on television, so I gotta pull myself back. But don't sit there and tell me that crap.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go to the chat real quick. LFA TV chat. We had a few comments here. We have T. Mitchell 3. Who plays with Trump's Truth account? So people are saying that whoever posted this stuff about, by the way, I posted something. Do you guys remember the the old South Park episode where one of the boys' dads decides that he wants to be a dolphin? He was like,
Yes.
I identify as a dolphin. This was well before the transanity.
Yeah, before it got crazy.
And it's like, well, the parents consent. It's like the parents. And it's like the dad looks like a dolphin, you know? And that was the same episode, by the way, where one of the little boys wanted to be a black basketball player, or wanted to be a basketball player, so they made him black. And
Kyle.
Yeah. So you've seen that one. Okay.
I will say this: we are featured on the Rumble channel now, so we just got a lot of new viewers here. They're going to switch away from us in a few minutes. Glad you're here, but they're going to switch away from us in a few minutes.
No, they're not.
They're just going to keep it on us. But if they do, just go back to LFA TV and
that's right.
And bring yourself back to the Paul Harrell program live from Arkansas.
That's right. Amen. Amen to that. A few more. Let's see.
This
more
was
comments.
great that we got to this point, by the way, in this conversation, because this was a lot of us were either going to have to try to keep ourselves from throwing up by conceding some certain things, hoping that Donald Trump was, making some sort of a grand wizard.
Not
deal,
on this.
Or,
not on this.
Yeah,
Not
that
on
was
this
the thing. We were just like, there's no way.
Yeah.
No, I was so. If you're just joining us, welcome to the show. This is the Paul Harrell program. We appreciate it. We're on LFA TV on Rumble, featured on the page right now. President Trump had a Truth Social this morning at like 9:30, where he listed the things he wanted to accomplish in the SAVE Act. Most of them were great, except the last one said we want to ban transgender surgeries for minors unless the parents consent. We went to that link to cover it, and the link was dead, and we found that an hour ago he posted an update where he just said, ban child gender mutilation surgery.
Just like he said in his State of the Union address.
Period. Yeah.
Which was so great.
Exactly.
I mean, what a great moment.
Man, it was people in revolt. You had Matt Walsh understandably revolting. Everybody was revolting over this
ridiculous.
Because it was, it's just insane that you were.
Sane parents were revolting against it. And here's the thing. Like, Donald Trump does not want Barron Trump to say that he's a woman. Like, he doesn't want that. And if he did, if Barron Trump felt like he was a woman, Donald Trump would give him mental help, not reaffirming care. This whole bullshit. Oh my gosh, I want to cuss. I'm sorry, Darlene. Thank you for cussing for me in the chat.
There you go.
But Donald Trump would get him support, which is what all of these individual children need. If you are a child and you believe that you are the opposite gender of which you were born, there are not 87 genders, folks. There are male and there are female. Are there some sort of medical anomalies where a person has both female and male traits and all of that stuff? Those are extremely rare. They do exist, but I can tell you
go ahead.
Yeah, I can tell you that 99.999999999 I want to go into infinity with those nines of the people who identify as transgender are simply people who are lost and looking for something.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, lost and we spiritually first and foremost.
And we can never embrace that. We can never embrace that as a society. And I think that there has been pushback to it. We were getting crazy with it and just really going down that you couldn't talk against a transgender. But I think we can never get to the point where we're embracing it. I've said it before on this show before, and I will say it again. It is the only mental illness that we completely coddle and embrace. No one, if the three of us, of course, all three of us, or neither of us are in this situation, we're anorexic, okay? And I've said this on the show before, but I'm going to repeat it. If you are anorexic and you say, hey, I'm anorexic, I feel like I'm fat, you know what? I want to affirm your position. Yeah. Let's give you gastric bypass surgery. That is what you're doing. That is what you're doing with a boy who thinks he's a girl, and you're giving him surgery. You are reaffirming mental illness. What the hell has happened to us? There has been pushback to it, but not enough has been done, and I don't like this from Trump. Even if it was a re-edit and all of that stuff, I don't like it because that means people are in his ear. People are in his ear, and I don't like it.
Well, we can. I agree. I mean, we need to. I agree. It's not good, but it could be a lot worse. That post could still be up there, and it's not.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which actually
there's that.
I've been able to pivot now.
Yes.
Because I mean,
dude,
before I was gonna be like, man, am I gonna really play devil's advocate for this?
I immediately reached out to Jeff
fall on
Younger.
the sword for
I
that?
immediately tagged Jeff Younger in the post on Twitter. Jeff Younger, obviously, his ex-wife absconded with his kids to California after the Texas Supreme Court allowed it to happen, so that this pediatrician ex-wife of his could trans his kids, or at least one of his kids. And he's been in a court battle. And he's looked to the Trump administration as we're a coalition party at this point. Everybody kind of has different issues. We rank them in different order of importance and that sort of thing. And he was like, the administration's going to do something positive about this one issue because it's so black and white. It is the difference.
He ran on it.
Yeah, and when Republicans say the choice is between us and crazy or normal and crazy, that was the one thing that we meant. Like Tuck-It swimsuits being sold in Target is crazy, right?
I can't. So, Paul, I don't want to interrupt you, but I can't get past that one sentence that he had in the original post. And I'm not trying to just pile on, and I'm not trying to throw gasoline on the fire, but it said, no child mutilation surgeries.
Mutilation.
Use that word.
Yes.
Comma, without parents' permission. What the?
He
didn't
write that. He didn't write it.
He didn't write it. I get it.
He was in a situation room with Hegseth and Raising Cane. They're working on their next bombing run. Well,
and
he was hearing about that. So I just don't think he had. I don't think he did this.
Well, the rumor is, and it's not a rumor, it's a fact. I mean, a lot of the staffers around these congressmen are gay. And are part of they're not, they don't have normal sexual proclivities. And so a lot of times, when it comes to when we ask the question, why have Republicans failed on so many social issues or family first issues for so long? It's because in a lot of ways that messaging is
everybody's gay.
Yeah, everybody's gay, and that messaging doesn't even get to your representative because they intentionally don't give them the information about what we think about that.
You ever listen to Bill Maher talk about, it's hard. Yeah, man, I'm bringing it up here, but Bill Maher, have you ever heard him talk about how the percentage of people who identified as gay in the 60s and 70s and all of that stuff? And he goes, so by 2035, we'll all be gay, right? And because of the influx in those who identify as gay. Well, then that means that they're everywhere. And I have nothing. As a Christian, I've got some things about it, but I have no problem. If someone who are gay walks in here, I got no problem with it.
Treating them like a human being is what you mean.
But if your ideology lends itself, and I will say this as well, and the LGBT, those LGBs, they don't necessarily like those T's. Dave Chappelle.
Okay, Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle talks about. He talks about. Yeah. He's like, you got the LG, you got the G's, you got the B's. Those T's are crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And we all realize that if you're wearing underwear and tucking your penis in there because you feel like you're a woman and you got a wig on and you're just like, hey guys, how's it going? Like, what the hell? We're putting you into normal, like a gay woman, a lesbian or whatever. She just is attracted to other women. Okay? Whatever, man. To each his own. Okay, I'm attracted to women. That's what it ends up being. But the trans, Lord have mercy. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows what the trans are?
This is where I've got to do the obligatory slippery slope reference because the L's, the G's, the B's lead to the T's. I know they want a divorce. I know some want a divorce. But I'm telling you right now, if you want, I
know a lot of L's and G's that have no desire to be attracted.
I certainly for a self-preservation, because it's making people rethink the whole sexual liberation thing.
You're right, Kathy. Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's T. Mitchell. Sorry.
All right. Well,
anyway, go ahead.
I do want to give a shout out to the Trump administration because what we try to do on this program is obviously bringing you the news. We want to do it, and we want to call out, bad stuff when we think it's not going well. That's why we covered the Ken Paxton, John Cornyn thing the way we did at the top of the show. But when good things happen, I want to make sure to, and I know Eric wants me to do this because he's the eternal optimist.
Finally.
Eric wants me to do this, but I do want to say I, as a Christian, am very happy with this post from Harmeet Dillon from the DOJ. As of Monday.
Harmeet Dillon, not a Christian.
Not a Christian.
Love her, though.
As of Monday, all 39 individuals indicted in the attack on City's Church in Minnesota had been arrested, 2 of them while abroad. We, civil rights, look forward to bringing justice to the victims of this attack and demonstrating our commitment to justice for all. And then she has a correction, which I think is of note. I am told that there is one free-range fugitive still at large. We will find and arrest this individual. We successfully apprehended 29 thanks to state, federal, and 2 cases of international law enforcement support. Thank you, Costa Rica.
Next update. Did you see that?
Oh, what's the next one? Update. Oh, they got him. Okay.
All 30 are now.
No, there you go.
We got him.
You know, Harmeet Dillon, fantastic, by the way. I believe she's Hindu.
Sikh. Yeah, it was definitely.
I'm so sorry.
No, Hindu.
Disrespect.
No, definitely Hindu. Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to her religion and race, but I can say this. So Harmeet Dillon was going to be the Republican national chair there whenever. What's her face?
Romney.
What?
Rona.
Yeah.
Rona Romney.
Yeah. When she got ousted, essentially, she was ousted. Harmeet Dillon was up for it, and I really wish that she would have. She was petitioning hard, but obviously, she's doing a phenomenal job in her current position. Look, what we saw this is that we've seen it over the last several years. Whether you can be watching this and say, I am not a Christian. But you can also acknowledge that Christianity is massively under attack, really worldwide.
All over the world, way worse than it is here. But yeah, they want to make what's going on to Christians on other places in the world. There are people that hate us that much. They literally, after this attack happened, you had leftist podcasters, and you even had Don Lemon, who admitted
absolutely
that one of the reasons this happened is because they weren't only Christians; it's because they were white.
White Christians.
This bothered the 3 of us big time. And we talked about it a lot on the show, too. But the fact that people took it upon themselves to go into a church, calling them racists, going in and disrupting in the middle of a church service to do what they did, it really affected the 3 of us. And we talked about it a lot, and I'm so glad. But forget the Don Lemon side of it. Just the fact that these folks thought that they could do that and could terrorize. I mean, remember the pictures of the kids burying their faces in their parents', shoulders, just trying to, because they were scared.
Well,
can you imagine that happening in our churches this coming Sunday and people coming in and doing stuff like that? My goodness.
We've seen churches get shot up, right? In South Carolina, we saw this, and that was racially motivated. And that guy, Roof, was it Dylan Roof?
Yeah, Dylan Roof. Yeah.
Rightfully so. Hopefully he's sent out to pasture for his crimes. But when Christians are specifically targeted, of course, there's a biblical martyr and all of that stuff. Like there are, I dare say, positive things about it, because that means that you are pushing the right buttons if you're just going with the flow as a Christian and you're not offending anybody and you're not doing this or you're not doing that, well then you're not really living a biblical.
Yeah, Christ said that they hate me, they're going to hate you.
Yeah. Because blessed are they that are persecuted, but we have laws here in this country that protect our right to be able to worship. And my gosh, the audacity, and I'm so glad that all 30 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it was fundamentally a moral outrage. There's this church of saints in Minnesota. They gather to worship the triune God, and they're in the middle of their worship, and they get invaded by people who are trying to make a political point. And I will bring up Don Lemon because he stupidly claimed that he had a First Amendment right to be there when there are 5 freedoms in the First Amendment.
You planned the invasion, brother.
Yeah, and he plans the invasion. And so, but this was not just an affront to our laws. This was an affront to the moral law, the laws of heaven. And we have secular laws on the books. Well, there is really no such thing as a secular law, by the way, in my opinion. You're either going to have laws that reflect the character of God, or laws that are pagan, wicked, and don't call good evil or evil good, or vice versa, whatever.
All those things, yeah.
But this was good that we have a DOJ that went after what happened.
Yeah.
So it sends a message to not do this again. I firmly believe that if the left ever gets back in power in their current iteration, without massive reform, which I don't anticipate happening, that they are going to marginalize Christians even more. They literally blame our belief in God and the consequences of the gospel and what it means for our, as we live lives, as we raise our families. They believe that is institutional racism, or they believe it's the cause of all of society's ills, and they're coming for us, man. They want to put us in boxcars. I'm telling you that right now. That is what they want. That is their goal.
But they'll accuse us of wanting to do that.
Right. Do you think
even though we've been in power,
one of those 30 folks would have gotten arrested under a Kamala Harris administration?
Of course not.
We
don't have any information on these people.
Harmeet Dillon right now.
No, as a matter of fact, and even because if that invasion had happened in the South, it would have gone very differently, I believe. In terms of the parishioners actually doing something, using physical force to remove those people. Had the people in Minnesota done that, I'm not saying that they should have stood down, but had the parishioners in Minnesota done anything, the government of Minnesota would have come after the church and all who are involved. They would have not touched those. They wouldn't have touched any of the black protesters. And I know there were white people there too. But
any rational person, Paul and Eric, you guys know, any rational person realizes what their goal was: to incite some sort of response.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so, what would have been the story had they responded? That minister, preacher, whatever that church calls it, he handled it exactly the way that he should. He just said, "Look, we're trying to serve God.
Yeah.
Like you need to go. We're trying to serve God. You're disrupting the service and all of that stuff." And you had children crying, flashing back to all of the horror stories that they've seen on television and all of that stuff. But the preacher handled it exactly the same way. He didn't give them what they were wanting, and so good for that, because what it ended up being was Don Lemon getting arrested, this other douchebag getting arrested, whatever his name was, the long-haired guy.
Hippie guy, the beard.
Yeah, and he gets arrested, and and the people that are planning it, and we're just like, well, I was just there. I was just an observer. No, you weren't. You were involved in the planning, and you deserve to be arrested and charged.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
All right, so once again, kudos. They are arrested. We'll see what the charges are, because I would like the punishment to fit the crime here, and we'll see what happens. But I can almost guarantee you they will not be treated the way J6ers were treated. I can almost guarantee you that's not going to happen. That'll be a huge red flag. Or not a red flag. I'm just saying, in obviously the J6ers were treated unfairly, so you can make the argument you don't want the Justice Department to just go tit for tat. You could make that argument. I don't know if I'm in that boat yet.
Well, glad the handcuffs came out.
We are battling communist revolutionaries, and unless they are made to stop, they are not going to stop. And this goes for the people in the church at Minnesota, the subversives, all the way up to the intel oligarchs that have run a color revolution against this country for the last 10 years, probably longer.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Nancy asked a question in the chat there. Why are the views dropping so fast? At certain times during our show, Rumble features us on the main page, so we get an influx of new viewers and live viewers, and then they switch off. It's kind of like channel surfing, and then they switch off and they'll go to another one, and so they've switched off to us. So come back to us, stay here if you are if this kind of content is appealing to you.
Amen, Rob. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to reset, take a quick break here. Do you know that they did a bunch of Medicaid audits in the state of Colorado concerning autism? And wouldn't you know, everyone they audited came back fraudulent.
Wouldn't you know?
Every one of them? Was there even one that was valid?
We're going to find out when we come back. But we're going to take a quick commercial break.
60 seconds. We'll be back.
60 seconds or so. Don't go anywhere, and we will be back here in just a moment.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order. Verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are broadcasting live from Arkansas here on LFA TV and other platforms. Do all the things, like, share, subscribe, wherever you are listening. We really do appreciate it, and we obviously appreciate this great audience on LFA TV. So before the break, we were telling you about this story, which we're going to throw up on the screen right now. This is a headline from the Epoch Times. Headline, 100% of audited Medicaid claims for autism in Colorado were improper or flawed, according to a report.
How many?
100%. 100.
Does that mean all of them? I don't know. I don't know. Does that mean all of them?
It's crazy because, according to the left, we shouldn't even be funding autism care because that's discriminating against autism. We shouldn't even want to cure autism, according to the left. When RFK said we need to cure autism, they said, how dare you marginalize autism? They're perfect just the way they are.
How many autistic children are in the womb right now because their mom was trying to rebel against RFK and took a bunch of Tylenol? I don't know that Tylenol causes autism. I don't know that. But if someone told me that it did, I sure as hell wouldn't go out and test it.
Just to spite them?
Yeah.
Just because you hate Trump so much?
I used to test stuff when I was 13 or 14 years old. When you say, oh, this will do this, it'll do that. Oh, like, yeah, I want to test it. I don't do that as an adult.
It kind of was a trend. I would say I think the data is clear. I think it is part of it. I think vaccines are part of it. There is some causality, but I would almost guarantee you that there's a libtard woman somewhere who was pregnant, who down Tylenol, who is going to have a baby that is autistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be because they took the Tylenol.
And they're going to have regrets, but it's going to be too late.
They'll never even admit it.
They'll say it's something else.
That's
it wasn't the vaccines. It wasn't the Tylenol. It was whatever.
They'll blame the Jews.
So here is Sylvia.
Oh, man.
Sylvia Zhu writing, Colorado's Medicaid program made an estimated $77.8 million in improper payments and another $207.4 million in potential improper payments for autism therapy, according to a February report from the Inspector General for the Department of Health and Human Services. Auditors investigated $289.5 million in Medicaid payments from 2022 to 2023 that paid for more than 1 million claims for applied behavior analysis, a therapy used to treat autism and developmental disabilities. So Colorado is not necessarily a state that you think of. It is a leftist state or a purple state at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a red state. There are pockets of redness. But you don't really think of Colorado when you think of the type of immigration you see in Minnesota, California, Ohio. However, I do remember when an entire apartment complex was taken over by a Venezuelan gang.
No.
Yeah. Tren de Aragua is all over some Denver.
Ask Martha about that. Martha Radich. Is she?
Yeah.
Just listen to yourself, Martha. J.D. Vance with the most epic takedown. Like, listen to yourself. Only a handful of apartments in the United States have been taken over by Venezuelan gangs. Listen to yourself.
Yeah, that was good.
That's what he said. It was fantastic.
Yeah, did he say, wasn't there also a meme, well frankly, Margaret, or there was a meme about that.
Well, he says that a lot. I don't know. J.D. Vance really is the king of one-liners.
It reminded me
he said, frankly, Margaret, I don't care.
Yeah. It reminded me of, well, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn.
Yeah. But regardless, Colorado, I think of like hippies because they, it's legal there. I also think of snow bunnies where people are skiing and all of that stuff. But to your point, I don't think of a lot of fraud. When I think of fraud, I think of Minnesota. I think of California. I think of these deep blue states where they're going to really, really try to hide that fraud.
Yeah.
And yet here we are talking about it. So
Trump always goes after the Colorado governor, though. He's a super lib. I'm pretty sure, right?
There's actually a very interesting story out there about the Colorado governor, because that's where Tina Peters is. And so,
what's up with that? People are mentioning that. I haven't heard.
Tina Peters gets a 9-year sentence for something that a Democrat just got sentenced for nothing. I mean, just a slap on the wrist.
That's right. Yeah.
And so Tina Peters, I think she actually could be used to testify against all of the election fraud that she witnessed and expose a lot of the Democrat fraud. I'm surprised. I mean, if you're the DOJ and there's reports that there are I'm just going to say it, communists within the DOJ preventing this, she should be labeled a protected witness and taken into federal custody.
Yeah. Get her out.
But that hasn't happened yet. She's still in a prison cell. But there are rumors now that the Democrat governor, and if this happens, this is going to be some sort of deal that was made between the feds and the Democrat governor. There are rumors that the Democrat governor is considering commuting her sentence because a Democrat was just sentenced not to 9 years. Matter of fact, just give me a second.
To what, 30 days or something? I mean, that's what it is. Now that I'm when we're talking about Colorado, now I'm starting to kind of think about some of that stuff. Do you remember what they were? I believe that they were the first state, but they were certainly one of the states that tried to take Trump off the ballot.
That's exactly
in 2024.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and so Colorado was hugely in the middle of that muck and trying to, it was like 17 different states. But I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody in the comments can say this, but I feel like Colorado was one of the main states, if not the first state, that tried to take Trump off the ballot. And that right there is the destruction of democracy.
Yeah.
That is, of course, we're not a democracy, but we're a
probation and community service.
We're a constitutional republic.
In a post on Tuesday, the governor of Colorado compared the case against former Mesa County clerk Tina Peters, who is serving a 9-year prison sentence, to that of a former state lawmaker who was recently sentenced to probation and community service after being convicted of one of the same crimes. Polis was echoing a concern he raised in January that the sentence for Peters, who didn't have a criminal history, was harsh. And it was harsh because Tina Peters found the truth. She found the evidence, the digital evidence about what they were doing in Colorado, and not just Colorado. It was a list of options that they have.
Hashtag election fraud. That's what they found. Hashtag election fraud.
Oh, you were doing hashtag, not
hashtag.
I thought you were. I thought you were like, move on, move on from the store, buddy.
No, I'm good.
We're done here.
Wait.
Yeah, you didn't get it. Yeah.
Hashtag.
It's kind of old. It's kind of old at this point. Honestly,
I don't think people don't use hashtags anymore because you don't have to do that on.
Yeah,
on Twitter,
I still use
X.
them. I still use them, but Musk said that it doesn't really make any difference anymore if you use a hashtag or not.
It doesn't. So. They pick it up. They just monitor.
Once you start typing it in, it automatically tries to link.
Okay. We are absolutely, T. Mitchell. We are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. Anybody that tries to say, "Well, we've got to protect our democracy," we got to. Democracy is.
Socialism.
51% get to decide, right? It is, or really not even that. It's 50 point whatever, the fraction might be. One vote over gets to decide. Constitutional republic is we elect these people. Now, I've got some problems with the constitutional republic that we deal with sometimes when we send these absolute criminals and losers to Washington, D.C., but it's what we have.
It is.
It is what we have. And what is our remedy? To vote them out of office, right? If we just did popular vote on everything, no one would care about states like Arkansas. We would
it would be the Hunger Games.
Yeah, nobody would care about us whatsoever. Everybody would care about these bigger states.
But let me tell you, I do think that they want things to get so bad. It may not happen in our lifetime, but it may happen in our lifetime. Let's just replace our government with AI.
Oh, my gosh.
Seriously, I think that's what they want.
Well, maybe, but I hope that
it'll
would be
easy for a while.
Call.
Oh, it would be terrible, but I think there are going to be people, abolish the court system, let AI do it. Let AI do everything. That is where we are moving closer to that.
Anybody that wants to believe that, I want you to. There's a video right now where this guy asks AI, and it's ChatGPT where it talks back to you, and it says, so the car wash is 0.09 miles away, or maybe it asked where's the closest car wash? 0.09 miles away, right? All this stuff. Should I walk there or drive? well, I've checked the weather or whatever, and it's a beautiful day. You should walk there. And essentially what he does is he takes AI down the rabbit hole and says, how am I going to wash my car if I don't even drive it there?
Okay.
Right? And that's what AI was telling him to do. So as smart as AI is, and the ability to scan the internet and all of this stuff, as smart as it is, it doesn't have the intellectual reasoning abilities just yet. And I struggle to believe that some of our members of Congress have the intellectual reasoning abilities, but it's the best we've got so far.
Well, there's a chance. I mean, the AIs that we have access to are not the AI. I mean, right now we're in the midst of an AI arms race, but who's to say
blink in 2 years
there hasn't
from now,
been something already turned on for years now? And you know, how do you manage us into a battery? The Matrix is what comes to mind. But let's go to Rob Spencer's favorite politician.
You ready?
Yasmin Crockett.
Oh my gosh.
There
Yes.
she is.
So
I've been
good.
wanting to talk about this hood rat.
She had some crocodile tears. It was sad, but take a listen.
No one. I gotta get through this.
Give me this in my
6
veins.
years ago, no one believed that I could become a state representative.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they do. They did believe it, because when you listen to her when
Still
she's
have
campaigning,
trouble believing that you were.
well, but think about this: when you watch some interviews of her before she was elected for the first time,
Oh yeah,
she was
rich girl from Rhodes College.
Oh
in
man,
Memphis?
rich girl from Rhodes College,
Very
who had-
articulate,
very articulate,
well-spoken.
not hood rat at all. When
Not
she's like
code switching.
No. And then she went, code switching.
Got a law degree.
That's right. And so the point of it with her is she got in there and either, number one, showed her true self, or she switched to pander to and the person that she was trying to run on, whatever. But the whole thing, and nobody thought it. No, you sounded like an intelligent woman of color running for office. Rhodes Scholar, educated, all of that stuff. And you got in there, and there are reports where she wouldn't even take the government-approved vehicles. She would hire out this Escalade, and she would use it but with her campaign funds and all of that stuff, to get her from A to B. And she would show up like she's got with this entourage. Like you're one of 500 members of Congress. Nobody gives a damn about you, right? And you're doing all of this stuff. And she lost. And it was so epic. And she's crying about it because nobody thought we could do this. Nobody thought. Yeah.
Well, based on her reaction, I may have to take an L here, because I told the audience that even if she lost, she's not going to go away, because people like this tend to stick around because they play the part that they're hired to play, and that she'd end up running a PAC, or she'd end up on TV or something. But based on her reaction, she's taking it pretty hard, and so she actually may be done. I mean, she may kind of go off into the sunset.
So they said she was lining up attorneys at 1 o'clock in the morning, Tuesday or / Wednesday morning, that she was lining up attorneys, and then she got up in the morning and conceded.
Yeah.
So I don't know if somebody got in her ear and just says, "Hey, this will you'll ruin your political career by going."
I think she'll be gone. I mean, she reminds me of Cori Bush from Missouri.
Oh,
Remember
that woman
the
is trash.
I mean, but I mean, kind of falling into that same line of you don't hear her name anymore.
Yeah, Cori Bush is basically from
part of
St.
the original,
Louis there. In there, and she was in my opinion,
squad.
Yeah, in my opinion, one of the dumbest members to ever serve in Congress.
Well, members of her own party are criticizing her. The report comes from Texas State Representative. I'm sorry.
I like that screenshot there. That's
Representative Yolanda Jones is what I meant to say. Quote, people don't understand politics will be upset because Jasmine was their hero. But for people who understand politics, Crockett literally had no ground game. No. The L is on her. Meanwhile, Stephanie Brown James, co-founder of the Collective PAC, an organization which claims its mission is to build black political power, told the outlet, quote, in many ways, she, Crockett, has been and has felt like a woman on an island. Even though she has substance, not everybody likes her style. And I think that sometimes her style is one that is not appealing, especially to the old guard Democrats whose fighting style is antiquated and outdated. So we have this headline again. Jasmine Crockett's fellow black Democrats say her defeat is 100% her fault. Yeah. And to the question of style, when she's like, eight years ago, ain't nobody thought I could be a state representative. I mean, even in defeat, she's committing to what she wasn't when she started. So
bottom line is Republicans wanted her to win.
Absolutely.
Oh, so we
100%.
sure as hell wouldn't
100%.
have, we sure as hell wouldn't have cheated.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was what was so laughable
lose.
Yesterday when we saw her a speech from the night before saying that she lost the Democratic primary because Republicans cheated.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. Why would the Republicans cheat to keep her out? She's a walking, talking, infomercial about what not to do in politics.
100%.
Unbelievable. All right, so throughout the Trump administration's second term, there have been several instances where the Trump administration highlights that the governments in Europe are not like the government of America anymore. That we have parted paths. This was, I guess, originally called out by Vice President J.D. Vance, that criticized Germany and the UK for their draconian speech laws and how they're censoring their own populations for just doing something as simple as expressing their opinion.
Get arrested for tweets and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Mm-hmm. It was most recently reiterated by Secretary of State Marco Rubio in his speech at Munich, where he backed the Western civilization, backed Western civilization, backed the Christian roots, the common roots that we share with Europe and everything else, and really rebuking where Europe is going now. Europe continues to arrest people for speaking their minds. Facebook posts, social media.
They arrest more in Europe per day than they do in Russia, China, all of those places.
So
wild.
We're not shocked to report this next piece of information to you, but we are going to do it because it does give you a glimpse of just how quickly a Western country can go from freedom of speech to 1984 or something even worse than that. And so I bring you this story from modernity.news. Headline, UK counter-terror police advertisement warns teens sharing funny content could be terrorism.
Seriously?
The United Kingdom's terrorism police have released a disturbing advertisement depicting a white teenager facing police seizure of devices and a potential criminal record simply for sharing a link that he found, quote, funny. And if you don't believe it, the ad is absolutely shocking. But this is the propaganda they are teaching, they're advertising to white Brits. White Britons are being told that they may be terrorists if they laugh at jokes. Listen to this.
I just got all my devices taken away by the police. My mum couldn't believe it. I might get a criminal record and not be able to go to college. I only shared a link. I just thought it was funny. But it was terrorist content. And that is not a game. It's real life.
Terrorist content. It was just funny.
I just shared a link.
All I did was share a link.
It was funny.
By the way, before we get into this, Eric Haynes, my friend, I know you got to go. You got to
He's got to roll out,
but thanks for doing the show with us. We really appreciate it.
I love that his American flag is still showing there in the in the camera.
It's like awesome.
Old glory remains.
Old glory remains. Eric wasn't raptured. So
he was not. No, he's not provincially called back.
Yeah,
yet he will be. He will be.
Well, okay. Well, that's a whole nother eschatological conversation, Rob.
Let's get into that on Monday.
Okay. Bottom line is, why should we care about what's happening in the UK, in Europe, all of those places? Why should we care, right? Because if we are like as the United States, like we're unique, we're our own people and all of that stuff, but they're our closest to people have said it's Canada, but Canada has not been our closest sort of look-alike in a long time, right? And it's been the UK, it's been Europe, and our goals and interests and all of those things aligned for the longest time. And what are we seeing there? We're seeing an ethnic cleansing that is happening, right? They are allowing so many refugees into that. Look up videos of London and just say, is this London anymore or something? Wherever you watch your videos, look up those videos and see, like, you're walking down and you're just like, I don't see any white people here at all. And I'm not trying to be racist with it, but if you have imported the third world, and you got to expect that this stuff is going to happen. And what it is, it's if someone takes offense, if this could be offensive, what is the main quality of the word offensive, Paul? What would you say? What would you say the main quality of the word offensive is?
Offense.
Okay. That it is subjective, in my opinion, right? I say something, you hear it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I say something, you hear it, you're offended by it. I didn't think it was offensive. I didn't think it was offensive whatsoever. But you heard it, and you thought it was offensive. So what are we now doing? We're now policing whether someone was offended by something. That right there, folks, is one of the biggest slippery slopes that we could face. It's why I have a problem with the word reasonable. When reasonable should never be used in law, and unfortunately it is. If a person reasonably would have thought this, if a reasonable person would have said this, whatever, like, I don't like that. It's objective, but certainly offensive.
Subjective.
Yeah, subjective. Sorry. Well, yeah. It's subjective. Objective. Thank you. Sorry, I'm going on this whole rant about objective, but yes, subjective. That's subjective. Like, well, you think this, I think this, you think this, I think this, and right now where somebody gets to arbitrate, like they get to the arbiter of truth here and get to decide whether this was offensive or not. You folks don't know that that's going to come to the United States.
Yeah,
it already is. It already is.
It is, and I think the question, just so everybody knows, the question in any society is not whether or not to have blasphemy laws. Every society has them, and or you have them in the court of public opinion, where you have things that are out of bounds, and we're seeing a shift, thankfully, in America with what you're not allowed to say, and obviously accusations of racism now have less power than ever because they've been they've been abused for so long, where everything is racism, so now nothing is, or whatever, and everybody just feels freer. But a big part of that is because of X. When Jack Dorsey owned Twitter, and there was the Great Purge after 2020, and nobody could speak their mind. And even during COVID, nobody could speak their mind. But can you imagine the federal government creating ads, where a white kid is talking about laughing at a meme and sharing a meme. And I just thought it was funny, and I shared it, but I participated in terrorism. Like, that was right around the corner for our country.
You participated in terrorism. Think about
that's
that
what it
bull
says.
crap.
I know.
You participated in terrorism. I didn't blow anything up. I didn't shoot anybody. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't injure anybody. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't do any of that stuff. I said something or I shared something, and it's terrorism. Folks, that right there should be a huge wake-up call to the United States, because if it's there, it's here.
That's what I'm saying.
It's already here.
I know. On a razor's edge with this stuff. And I just, you bring up a great point when you talk about what London looks like, what UK looks like, and how it is a replacement that's going on there. And if you're in the UK and you notice it and you say something about it, you are arrested, or you're marginalized, and I don't know how long the UK is going to put up with it. But likewise here, I mean, we also need to talk about America. We still have a ton of work to do here in this country, and mass deportations, we are told, is a complicated issue, and it certainly is. It's a messy issue. It certainly is. But that does not mean just because it's hard we can give up. And I know there are people with what we saw with Minnesota, with Petty, with Good, that this is like oh no, because there's everybody in Donald Trump's ear telling him to pull back here, or don't change your tactics and everything else. And I know that Noam is now out and Mark Wayne Mullen is in, and Tom Homan is still there. But, like, we've got to put the foot on the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And I know most people are going to be inundated with what's going on in the Middle East. We've had those conversations. We'll continue to have those conversations. But the stuff here domestically, there are still a ton of problems here in this country that need solving and need solving quick. Obviously, voter ID, the SAVE Act would be one of those. But we can't lose focus of that. Americans have got to see improvement in our day-to-day existence here. And and the demographic replacement that has gone on has got to be reversed. It has to be.
You're spot on, Paul. And what Republicans and conservatives and even independents who lean right should realize, and that is that we have until November to get something done. Everybody's like, oh, Trump's still president for 2 more years after that. But if they take the Senate and the House, and I'm talking about the Democrats, the Democrats, right? If they were to take that in the House, okay, and the Senate in November, Trump is a lame duck for his last 2 years. Now, he might do some executive orders that have some short-term positive benefits, but the negative is going to be as soon as Trump is no longer president, if it's not a Republican, if we've got a Democrat that is president at that point, all of those executive orders will be overturned the exact same way that Joe Biden overturned in 2021, January of 2021. He overturned every one of Trump's executive orders that was keeping that border at bay. And what did he do? He allowed an absolute ocean of illegal immigrants to come into this. So we've got until November. And that's why we're so passionate about the Save America Act, is because we say we do have until November. But also what would help is if you have to prove that you're a citizen to be able to vote in November.
Yeah.
You're going to go vote in November.
Yes.
I'm going to go vote in November. We both voted on Tuesday or before. We did the early voting here in the state of Arkansas. But we're going to go vote in November. I have my ID out as I'm walking into the voting location. I have the real ID, which means that I had to provide a birth certificate and all of that stuff to get the real ID because I fly on airplanes every once in a while. That right there is the minimum. Why is that not the minimum? And I'm walking in with my ID, proudly presenting it here in the state of Arkansas because they're going to ask for it. Why is that not mandatory throughout all 50 states? I'll never understand it.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, Rob, appreciate you being with us as always.
Glad to be on the show.
And I know you're out tomorrow. I know Eric's out tomorrow. Tomorrow on the program, we will be talking with the purveyor of nationalfile.com. Noel Fritsch will be with us, and I will be here Friday here on LFA TV, and so I'm going to be here with bells on. Can't wait. So I hope you have a good weekend,
I'll
my
be
friend.
listening to it. I'm looking forward to what Noel has to say.
Well, he's definitely a Politico, and he's also I know he's working with Mark Lynch.
Well, Mark Lynch,
from South Carolina, who's challenging Lindsey Graham. So we're definitely going to dive into Lindsey Graham tomorrow on the program. I want to remind everybody out there to like, share, and subscribe this video. Share it with your friends. Follow us on all of our social media. We want to thank LFA TV for having this on the network. We really do appreciate that. Love this audience. God bless everybody out there watching, and we will see you tomorrow.